I'm Dr. DrYasapa from Zion Law School. Let's go ahead and get started. This is number 6. This is number 6 from the book, The Gospel and the Zodiac, The Secret Truth About Christ. So we're going to pick up on Capricorn now. Zion Law School. Give me 1 second. Let's go ahead and get started. This is, all right, let me check for the signal. Shalom, everybody. I'm Dr. DrYasapa from Zion Law School. All right, what's happening with the signal? Let's see. Give me 1 moment. I don't have a signal. Hold on. Give me a second, y'all. Let me see if we get this going. All right, can somebody type in the chat? If put a 1 in the chat if you guys have a signal. Give me 1 second. I don't seem to have one. Give me 1 moment, y'all. Just 1 moment. Here we go. All right, let's see if this is it. All right. Okay, yeah, we're good. All right, so we're in business. Okay, so we're gonna pick up the Gospel and the Zodiac, the secret truth about Jesus, the secret truth about JC. All right. This is number 6. If y'all haven't saw the other ones, go ahead and check them out. All right. The link to the free PDF is in the description area of the video. So download it, print it, and bind it. All right, give me 1 second. So here we go. Let's get started. All right, so we're going to begin on page 82, y'all. Page 182. We're going to begin on page 182. Let some people know that we are here, all right? Like and share the video. So the subheading reads, The Spiritual Lessons of Capricorn. Oh, we already did that, y'all. I'm on the wrong page. We're on page 184. Page 184. Page 184. I hope y'all can see that. Open up to page 184. All right, so here we go. It is worth noting that denarius minted in Spain during the reign of Augustus actually displayed an image of Capricorn on the reverse side. McNeese tells us. So now this is page 184, okay, y'all? Now let me put this image to the screen. I'm gonna check my other device to see if I can see it. Those of you who do not have the, there's a delay, so I'm gonna hold this up until I can see it, okay? Those of you who do not or who have not printed the book yet, go ahead and print it. I want y'all to see this Capricorn. All right, do y'all see it? There's the Capricorn. All right, there is the Capricorn. So let me try to adjust this. I hope y'all can see it. Let's make sure that this is clearly visible to everybody, that Capricorn. All right, let's continue. Figure 23, Roman coin showing Augustus and Capricorn. Although Augustus was dead when Mark was writing, now remember, this is Capricorn. This is coming from Mark chapter 11, verse 27 through chapter 12, verse 44. Although Augustus was dead when Mark was writing, it is possible that the text here alludes to an image of imperial power, an image of kingly power with which his earliest readers would have been familiar. After all, coins do not go out of circulation upon the death of the monarch, whose likeness they bear. And the footnote reads, Titus also issued a denarius with Capricorn on the reverse side in 79 CE. He was born on the 30th of December in 39. I'm sorry, let me repeat that. He was born on the 30th of December in 39 CE. Okay, y'all. Now, there was a footnote. This footnote is not on this page. I think this footnote goes back to, let me read this real quick. Okay, well, there's a footnote. It may be on the previous page. No, the footnote is in the first paragraph. I didn't see it. All right, so the footnote is in the first paragraph, so let me go ahead and read that. The moon, not the sun, was in Capricorn when Augustus was born. Now, y'all got that. The moon was in Capricorn. The sun was not in Capricorn, but the moon was in Capricorn. And here we see Capricorn on the reverse side of the coin. Y'all see it? See the connection? All right. See the connection? Okay, now let's continue. Let's continue with the paragraph. They held that the Pentateuch alone, that is the book of Moses, all right, the book of Moses. So y'all refer to, I'm assuming this is Mark chapter 12, verse 26 here in the book, was authoritatively from capital G-O-D. And any doctrine which could not be clearly found therein was not to be believed. Since there is no unambiguous reference to an afterlife in these 5 books, that's the books of Moses, y'all hear that? There's no unambiguous reference to an afterlife in the first 5 books. All right, these are attributed to Moses, the books of Moses. Since there is no unambiguous reference to an afterlife in these 5 books, they rejected the notion of physical resurrection. They rejected the notion of physical resurrection. Their question to JC concerns 7 brothers who were married successively to the same woman. Although unusual, this would have been hypothetically possible, since under the law of the Levites, marriage, a man was obliged to marry his sister-in-law in order to raise up children in his dead brother's name. In the resurrection, the Sadducees asked whose wife this woman would be. This is Mark 12, verse 23. JC tells them that she won't be the wife of any of them because in the resurrection, marriage does not exist. And men and women will be like the angels in heaven. That's Mark 12, 25. However, it is JC's reasoning rather than his answer, which is interesting from our point of view. Okay, our means the authors. JC argues, now about the dead rising. Have you not read in the book of Moses, in the account of the bush, how capital J-O-D said to him, I am the power of Abraham, the power of Isaac, and the power of Jacob? He is not the power of the dead, but of the living. You are badly mistaken. This is coming from Mark 12, 26 and 27. Here, JC is shown arguing on the Sadducees' own terms. That means he's using their logic, right? Using their logic against them. Demonstrating. Y'all hear that? Demonstrating how a text from the very books that they considered to be inspired could be used to refute the position they were defending. So JC again used their own words against them. Remember, anything you say can and will be used against you, but that also applies to your adversary. Anything they say, you should use against them. All right, let's continue. This is an attack upon all bibliolatry, in whatever guise it may appear, except perhaps for insurance policies. There are no unambiguous documents. We bring our prejudices and our background to everything we read, and differences of opinion over meaning are inevitable. Now that is true. The warring sects of Christendom are sufficient proof that this is so. Now I disagree with that. I disagree. From my point of view, these Christian sects, cults, churches, organizations, whatever you want to call them, they all boil down to cults. If you don't know about cults, I did a post, a community post. Y'all go read about that. You'll see, you can take a look at the video. I believe I put the link to the free PDF. You can learn about the elements of cults and what cult leaders do in terms of tactics. All right, you'll see that all throughout the New Testament and the churches. But let's continue. My point of view is this: the New Testament itself, causes people to argue and war. All right, it becomes a matter of who's right and who's wrong, who's got the discernment, who's got the right law, all of this stuff. So it becomes a competition and people tearing each other down. All right, now that's in modern times. In the earliest times, since the hybrid troglodyte niggers got a hold of these documents, since the Catholic Church has been using the Gospels, etc., Christianity was more warlike. They conquered the world using war machines and weapons. Weapons would include not just physical weapons, but psychological weapons, okay? Psychological weapons, psychic attacks, okay? We call this Christianity, all right? Christianity, psychic attacks, physical warfare. And as they conquered the world, as they began to achieve their conquest goals, they started to relax the defensive, outwardly forward military presentation of Christianity, and they began to shift it more toward this love thing, right? And that makes sense, doesn't it? Because now you've already conquered the world. So now you want people to do what? You want people to be passive. You want to pacify people and make them accept your rule. Whereas before that, you wanted to activate the soldiers. You wanted to rise them up, put on the complete suit of armor. Now that's talking about something spiritual. But I came across some information a couple of days ago that's saying that was talking about something literally physical for warfare, physical warfare. The warring sects of Christendom are sufficient proof that this is so. Now, I just told you I disagree. In pointing out the faulty exegesis of the Sadducees by means, we might add, of a very spacious argument on his part. JC is not advocating that they go back and study the text more carefully, as is generally supposed. Y'all got that? JC is not telling them, hey, wait a minute, go back and read that text. You don't have the proper understanding. Your discernment is not right. You don't have the spirit. as y'all Christians and Hebrew Israelite Christians say. That's not what this author is saying JC's intent was. Let's continue to see what he has to say. All right. JC is not advocating that they go back and study the text more carefully, as is generally supposed. He is demonstrating to them the futility of all argumentation based on personal interpretations of sacred text. Do y'all hear that? He's demonstrating it's futile. It doesn't make any sense to argue about sacred text because of your background, your education, your experience in life is going to be different from other people. Now, are there going to be those people who agree with you? Of course. But there's also going to be people who could have had the same experiences in your life, but their interpretation and perception of them are vastly different from yours. So why argue? Why fight? Why war against one another? Especially when you have the same opposer. Just because you have a different point of view, a different doctrine, for example, you attack someone who's doing what they think is a fine work for their people, to uplift their people. You attack them. Why not go and attack the oppressive adversary? Why not expose their institutions? Why not expose their tactics? Why are you exposing your brother? I'll tell you why. One reason is probably because you're a coward. Two is probably because you're seeking attention that you never got from your father or your mother or some other personality problem. Or maybe you're high on the narcissistic scale. Or maybe you're diagnosed or undiagnosed mental illness patient. Maybe that's why you do it. Let's talk about it. Nobody knows you or your mental health. But what they do know is that you have, and I'm not talking about anyone specifically, y'all. I'm talking in general about people who attack, all right? But what we do know is that the tactics that you deploy by constantly attacking people, one, are very cultish. It's what cults do. People who are in cults and people who are cult leaders or who desire to be a leader, all right? This is what people who have mental illnesses do. Not all mental illnesses, but there are some, right? And these type of people, those people who are high on the narcissist spectrum, those people who may be schizophrenic or they have visions of grandeur that doesn't match what they produce, doesn't match their talent. They have nothing to show for it that they produced in the physical world. But they constantly attack, destroy, degrade, put down, etc. If you don't agree with them, or if you say something differently than they say, then they're out to destroy you. All right? Post negative things about you, call you wicked, call you evil, all sorts of things. Tell people don't listen to you, all sorts of things. Maybe it's out of envy or jealousy. Maybe it's look at me, I'm somebody too. But you don't put the work in. But anyway, that's enough of that. Y'all just be careful. be careful when you find someone attacking other people, because it may be that they themselves are deceived or are deceivers or are diagnosed or undiagnosed mental illness patients. Okay, and they're going through a trip, or they're trying to get attention and money, or they're just simply jealous and they want to tear everything down. Okay, now I'm not saying this about anybody in particular. I'm just saying be aware. Be aware. All right. Let's continue. JC is not advocating that they go back and study the text more carefully, as is generally supposed. He is demonstrating to them the futility. It's a waste. The futility of argumentation. It's a waste of time to argue and debate religious doctrine. The futility of argumentation based upon personal interpretations of sacred texts. Period. So, what does this, now I agree with this statement. So what does this tell us? It means we should take the academic approach, not argue, not debate. Take the academic approach. Learn ancient Ibaryath. This is the original language that these books, those first 5 books, the books of Moses, were written in. Learn Ibaryath. Learn it. Okay, learn it and then examine the text. Evaluate, examine, evaluate, examine. Okay, learn philology. Learn philology. Raise yourself up. Raise yourself up. Okay, even if you are not that person who are tearing people down, are you the person who's tuning in so that they can hear the drama and the insults and the put downs? Probably, maybe you are, because this is how the so-called Negro has been trained. Let me check the chats, y'all. This is how the so-called Negro has been trained. The Negro, the black has been enculturated, socially engineered to create drama and division, to love to tear people down and to seek attention, to seek acceptance from their adversary, the oppressor. Why? Because that keeps you a slave, that keeps you divided and weak, and that keeps you a consumer rather than a producer. It prevents you from ever as a people investing in yourself and in your intellectuals. Okay, if you don't have your own books, if you don't have intellectuals who are writing your own books from your own perspective, then you'll always be in a slave, subjugated mentality, because you are studying their books and their authors are giving you information from their point of view. Their point of view is the oppressor and you're the slave. Period. That's why all of y'all should get behind me financially and in every other way to rewrite the book of the law in Ibaryath with an accurate and honest rendering of every word in English so that you can see what it says. I can assure you from my own experience, and people who've come through Zion Law School classes can assure you that what you see in the English is very often misleading or an outright lie, deceptive, outright. Let me look at some of these comments. Okay, so Children of Jerusalem, the book is called the gospel, and the zodiac, the secret truth about JC. All right, I hope you can see that. The link to the free PDF is in the description area of the video. Children of Jerusalem says, I love this, exposing the SUN son God myth. Children of Jerusalem continues, so that we can return to our power as a people. What book are you reading? Okay. All right. Any other comments? I'll stop periodically to see what y'all have to say, and we can talk about it. Yes, indeed. Children of Jerusalem. This SON, SUN, son deity, they're both the same. Go back to German and I think Dutch. If you Google the etymology of SON, you'll find that it's SUN or a variation of that in Dutch or German, or similar in German and Dutch. I don't remember correctly, well, specifically right now, but it is that. I think I posted something in the community, in a post. I believe I posted the information in a community post a week or two ago. I don't remember. But check it out. So yes, these gospels tell the story of the sun traversing its orbit, okay, in relation to the constellations rather, and the earth, and how these things affect the earth. For example, most notably, seasons, okay? Certain parts of the world have 4 seasons. Others don't. They have wet and dry, okay? Now, this becomes problematic, right? So what have they done? What have the powers that be done? Well, Vietnam, Philippines, other places, they have wet and dry season. Now they've got almost all of the people talking about it's wintertime, it's summer, it's spring. You guys see that? That's transportation narrative, right? There's no wintertime in Southeast Asia. It's wet and dry season. But anyway, let's continue. So given that it's 4 seasons, where would you expect the original records to have been written? Let me take it back further than that. The observations and the writings in the context of winter, summer, spring, and fall, it had to take place where? The original observations had to take place where? On a landmass where there's winter, summer, spring, and fall. That should tell you something. Y'all chew on that. So let's continue. Lost my spot again. 1 second, y'all. I gotta find my place. All right. Okay, so here we are. Our religious life must never be entirely focused on any book. Now, this is the author's opinion, okay, y'all? Me, myself, I say it openly. I am not religious. I gave up religion a long time ago. I returned to the Most High. What does that mean? Returning to the Most High means returning to nature. The commandments are at their essence nature. I've demonstrated this many times in our class. The commandments at their essence are natural law. Natural law governs the universe. It only makes sense that when you return to natural law, you are harmonizing yourself with what is natural. Much of religion goes against natural law. It absolutely goes against natural law. So you're out of harmony with nature, out of harmony with the universe. All right? You're out of harmony. Let's take a drastic example, all right, of being out of harmony with the universe. Try going outside and jumping off of a cliff. All right, now are you out of harmony with the universe, thinking that you're not going to fall? Yes, you are. But anyway, the Most High's instructions are at their essence natural law. All right, we see this demonstrated or reflected in the Declaration of Independence when they talk about nature's God and nature's law. Right? If y'all not familiar with that, go back and read that. We also see it with gold and silver being money. Right? That's constitutional money. Gold and silver. Right? Gold and silver. We see it in many, the right to defend yourself, the right to contract, etc., etc., etc. We see it all over the Constitution. And we see it in Scripture. We see heirs or estates, all of this stuff, right? We also see what? I'm gonna skip it. Maybe I'll come back to it. I'll skip it. Let's get back to the text. Our religious life. So for me, this is not my religious life, but my life in harmony with nature. Okay? My life in harmony with nature. Our religious life must never be entirely focused on any book, no matter how exalted the claims made for its origin. Scriptures may inspire us and they may educate us. They may point us in the direction we must follow, but they must never be allowed to usurp our sense of self-determination. Now, what is self-determination? Self-determination is your right to contract. It's your right to do this, your right to do that, okay? Which relies on the internal light. Let's repeat that. Which relies on the internal light and not the external text. Y'all get that? It relies on your consciousness. It relies on your consciousness, okay? So you're going to give up your consciousness to follow a book? Well, I know I did it for decades before I realized what a huge mistake it was and how much time I wasted. And that's the fact, y'all. All right, so let me see. Y'all want to say something or add something to the discussion, put it in the chat. I'm checking the chat now. I don't know if there's a delay or how long the delay might be, but I will read your chat and I will comment on it if I can. All right, so give me a second. So don't be shy, all right? Don't be shy. And remember too that I don't know everything. So you may realize something or see something that I don't know, or you may be able to say something in a way that resonates with someone, that otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to get from me. So don't be shy. Don't be stingy either with your comments, okay? So let's continue. JC continues his parody of scripturalism a little later in this section when he refutes the notion that the Messiah was to be a son of David, quoting from Psalms 110. JC asks, how is it that the teachers of the law say that the Christ is the son of David? David himself, speaking by Holy Spirit, declared, the Lord said to my Lord, sit at my right hand until I put your enemies under your feet. David himself calls him Lord. How then can he be his son? It's a good question, right? So Mark chapter 12. I don't know if this is 36 and 30. I believe it's verse 36 and 37. Again, spacious reasoning design, I am sure to raise a chuckle. Here the text of Mark is itself delightfully ambiguous. Are we meant to infer that the Messiah was not to be a son of David? Or, see, now here's where the ambiguity comes in. Or are we meant to deduce, or are we meant to understand, given enough time and a sharp enough wit, we can prove anything we like from Scripture? I leave the reader to judge. Well, I like what he just did there. I have a friend, and I used to always tell this friend of mine that when people make doctrines, it's nothing more than you just make a collage of scriptures. You just make a collage of scriptures, right? You can prove your point. Now, some people will say, oh, precept upon precept and all of this stuff. But even the interpretation that they're using for this is wrong. When you look at it in Ibaryath, it has a different meaning. All right. It is not what they're telling you. What they're calling precept upon precept, I call reading comprehension. Okay, you look at the text in this book and verse and the text in that book and verse, you find similar, right? Similar how? Similar audience. Maybe the same person is speaking, etc., etc. This is reading comprehension. This is not precept upon precept. All right. Okay. So get your vocabulary and your concepts right. But people shouldn't argue anyway over these things, right? Should not argue over them anyway. It doesn't make any sense. Unless, of course, you're just trying to get attention or the other reasons that I mentioned before. All right, so let's continue. The sophist tells an illuminating and harmonious story which suggests a more liberal attitude to scripture than that of the literalist. A preacher renowned for his wisdom drew large crowds whenever he drew large crowds wherever he went. At the end of his sermons, he would often be asked the secret to his great wisdom. He always replied, I am wise because I know what is in the Quran. One day, a questioner decided to probe further, saying, tell us then, just what is the Quran? In the Quran, the preacher replied, there are 2 pressed flowers and a letter from my friend Abdullah. Received text can only be useful to us when they are examined in conjunction with our experience of living. And we all have different experiences of living, right? But what's important about the experience is not the experience itself, but our perception of the experience and how we react to the experience and the environmental feedback that we get from our reaction. Then how we process all of that. So that's a lot. Isolate a text from life, extol it as inerrant revelation, and it becomes a tyrant. It becomes a tyrant. Why are you wearing pants? Where your fringes at? Why your head shaved? etc., 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 or the doctrine of discovery. Go over there. Delete, exterminate everyone who does not accept JC, the Christ figure, as their Lord and Savior. Exterminate all of them. Take their land, their houses, their jewelry, everything of value. Take it. Send me my percentage, of course. Take it. Enslave them for life in perpetuity. That means enslave them, their children's children, their children's children, their children's children, all the way until these people are able to break free from your yoke. Take their land, their governments, and you administrate their governments. You want their wife, their daughter, for whatever sexual purpose you want, she's yours, just like an animal. You want their son for some perversion, or you want the father for some perversion, he's yours for whatever you want. You want to put the fear of God in them? Take a woman and cut the baby out of her womb. Tie her legs to a horse, to two horses, and let the horses run, split her in half, let the baby fall out. Cut off the man's testicles, cut out the woman's vagina, and make purses for coins. Use their skin to make shoes and gloves and handbags. Use their babies for alligator bait. This is the tyranny of holy books, particularly the New Testament. Particularly the New Testament, used by people who demand that you accept their doctrine. All right. We see this prominently with the Catholic Church and their papal bulls. We also see it with the religious organizations today, Hebrew Israelites too, or maybe even especially. All right. Cultic behavior, y'all study up one. Study up one and then protect yourself. All right. Okay, y'all, I don't know if I still got a signal. So MSTOYA writes, wow, interesting dialogue. JC was or is a Capricorn. He was born within the time. Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. I'm glad you appreciate the presentation here, Miss TOYA. I think it's Toya. If I'm wrong, let me know. I apologize if I'm wrong. All right, let's continue. So y'all see how if you are not very careful, let me repeat that. Y'all know Deuteronomy chapter 28, the blessings and the curses. Y'all know the first verse opens up, the first or the second verse. One of the first words, not one of the first words, but in that very first sentence or two, it says, be careful. Now, in the 506 curses course that I teach every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the link is in the description area if y'all want to come. But I go deep into what careful means. Y'all should do that. Go look up careful. Go look up careful. It's more than what you think. All right? More than what you think. But be careful with any organization that you get yourself associated with that's using the Bible, especially the New Testament. All right? Any of these religions. I don't care if they say that they're not a religion. If they got elders, if they got priests, bishops, if they have all of these titles, if they have all of the things that look like a religion, even though they say that they are not a religion, if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it must be a dog. No, it must be a duck until proven otherwise. Best way to prove it otherwise, Best way to prove it otherwise, go into the Old Testament, evaluate and examine it using Ibaryath. This is the Paleo Hebrew, the original language. Examine it, analyze it linguistically, okay? And then use philology. Philology. This is the way to handle it. This way you'll not be taken advantage of. You remain in control of your life, and you accomplish everything that you want to accomplish regarding your relationship with the Most High. And you don't put yourself in jeopardy, and you don't throw your money away too. But you can spend your money however you want, right? But anyway, let's continue. So be very careful, y'all. Let's continue. All right. Okay. Sandwiched between these two scripture lessons is an encounter with the scribe whose faith JC commends. This man, in a spirit of genuine inquiry, asked JC with which commandment is the most important. In reply, JC quotes the Shema, the prayer derived from Deuteronomy 6, that is central to all Judaism, and which runs. Now remember, he said Judaism, that is religion. You should know, religion is not nation. A nation is a bloodline of people attached to a specific landmass. This is through land grants that the Most High gave each family from Genesis chapter 2, right? You can read about that in Jubilees. I've gone through that. Go back and watch the videos where I've gone through this stuff. You can get all of that, all right? Common culture, common language, commerce, all of these things common. This is a nation. A religion, anybody can join it no matter what relationship, no matter what nation you're from. You just accept the doctrines, you participate in the ceremonies. Go read Jeremiah chapter 8, verse 8. You keep the ceremonies. All right? You keep the ceremonies. I would love to say what my mind is thinking, but most of y'all can't handle it about these ceremonies. You keep the ceremonies. You do all of this stuff that religion requires, and they accept you as a member. This is Judaism. It is not a nation. It's definitely not a race. Let's continue. In reply, JC quotes the Shema, the prayer derived from Deuteronomy 6 that is central to all Judaism. It is central to the religion, Judaism, and which runs, quote, the most important one, answered JC, is this, quote, hear, O Israel, Isis Ra-El, Isis from Egypt, Ra from Egypt, El, probably the Canaanite deity El, or pantheon of deities El. Isis, Ra, and El. Hear, O Isis, Ra, and El devotees. Hear, O Isis, Ra, and El worshipers. I ascend from the house of Yasharala. Some people say the house of Yasharala. Doesn't matter how you say it. It is not Isis Ra-El. Okay? But y'all do what you want to do your own research on it. This is a subject that some people really get hot under the collar about. All right? I would never use this to speak about my nation. Isis, the Egyptian deity. External deity, Ra, another Egyptian external deity. El, Canaanite external deities. The House of Yasharala. Hear, O House of Yasharala. Okay. The capital L-O-R-D, y'all should know who this is. Capital L-O-R-D is the Tetragrammaton. Now, those of you who do not know the whole story about the Tetragrammaton and about Baali, study more. Study more. Our capital G-O-D, you should know who capital G-O-D is. And that in Ibaryath, there is no capital letter. There's no such thing as a capital G or capital D. The designation in English, lowercase g would be what? Lesser gods. Uppercase G would be what? You think it's the Most High, but you are wrong. Even in English, you're wrong. Go check your Strongs. All right. And if you're perceptive, you'll see it. If not, you won't. We go through this stuff in the 506 Curses course on Saturdays, all the time. All right. All the time. So what am I trying to show you? I'm trying to show you that you are being led by the Bible translators and your religious leaders into violation of the very first commandment, or even the first 3 commandments. Read the first 3 verses. You'll see it. You are calling yourself the names of deities. Isis, Ra, El. You're associating yourself with them. You shouldn't even speak the name, right? Let alone show allegiance and respect and honor to external deities. You should not do that. Study more if you don't know what I'm talking about. All right. Ibaryath will bring this fully into your vision if you just learn. So who is capital G-O-D? Who is capital G-O-D? This deity changes through different epochs. Y'all Google search capital G-O-D. Put it in the chat and tell me what you get. All right. All right. Here, O Israel. The Tetragrammaton, our deity. What is Lord? Lord again, capitalized as a Tetragrammaton, is 1. So we see Isis, 1, Ra, 2, El, 3, capital L-O-R-D, 4, capital G-O-D, 5. 5 deities. Or is capital L-O-R-D, is capital L-O-R-D and capital G-O-D the same deity? And if so, which one? Y'all figure it out. It's easily available if you search for it. Let's continue. Love the Most High, your power, with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind and with all your strength. The second is this: love your neighbor as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these. This is Mark chapter 12, verse 29 through 31. See, what I want to demonstrate to y'all, or I hope y'all can see, we need to have our own literature. We need to have our own book of the law. I have the skills to do it without question, without doubt. And I've been doing this for years now. We need our own. So y'all support me. If y'all want to have it, support it, because this is not an easy task. I'll need people to work with me. There are things I need to purchase in order to do this. It's not something I can do in 6 months or even a year, or maybe even not even 2 years. All right, but it has to be supported by the people. All right, so let's continue. But you cannot deny that we do not need it. Look at how these people are leading you right into breaking the law. Okay, and of course, that's where they want you to be, right? Isn't that where they want you to be? They want you to be in the curses. They want you to speak. They want you to speak in such a way and behave in such a way that you're cursed. Deuteronomy chapter 28. And they want you to think that you're doing everything right, to confuse you. Why is it that you do everything you're supposed to do, but yeah, you're cursed? Nothing is improving. You get with these Hebrew Israelite organizations or another Christian organization, and then before you know it, you see it's the same thing or worse than the church you left, or the other Hebrew Israelite religion that you left. The scribe accepts what JC says, and his integrity is rewarded with the words, "You are not far from the kingdom of capital G-O-D." That's Mark 12:34. This passage illustrates the fact that JC does not condemn all Jewish leaders. It clearly implies that there were some of whom this man was a representative, who accepted and practiced the essential core of Judaism. He practiced the religion, and who were unaffected by fractionalism and caustic squabbling. Toxic fighting is what it means. This section of the gospel ends with JC contrasting the spiritual vacaciousness of certain scribes who parade their pseudo piety, all costumed out. Where your fringes at? Why you wearing pants? Why ain't you got a beard? Why your head shaved? Their pseudo piety for all to see, with the humble actions of a poor widow who puts all she has into the temple treasury. The status conscious scribes who scrabble for the best seats in the synagogue, Mark 12:39, reflect everything that is reprehensible about Capricorn. So the scribes reflect everything that's no good, dirty, and downright ugly about Capricorn. So y'all see that? Capricorn has an ugly side. Okay. Jesus is a Capricorn. JC has an ugly side. JC is a Capricorn. Capricorn has an ugly side. Make the connection. Real religion, we learn, is not about putting on a display, but about the simple acts of generosity, which are motivated by love. Now, he's talking about religion. I don't get into religion, okay? I don't get into religion. That's a discussion for somebody else to have. So I will leave that alone. What I will say is this. Natural law demands that we not harm anyone. If you don't harm anyone, you're good. Everything is copacetic. You're great, right? How do you know? If you have a normal personality, you have something that's called what? Empathy. You know how something feels. You remember how you felt when somebody stole your stuff, right? When someone lied to you, when someone who you cared about betrayed you, when they didn't pay you, right? Or they paid you and you didn't deliver the service or the product. You know how it feels, even if you've never experienced it. Even if you've never experienced it, you know how it might feel, right? Okay, this is natural law, simple. Be careful. If you're not sure, just don't do it. Or even just take the loss, right? Chalk it up as it's going to come back to you 100-fold. So let's continue. Matthew's condemnation of the Pharisees is much longer than Mark's, comprising the whole of chapter 23. It is the most comprehensive and uncompromising attack upon hypocrisy anywhere in the Christian scriptures. But we must be very careful not to assume that it is directed only at a particular set of people living at a particular time. Pharisaism is endemic to the human condition. The white sepulchres, I have a hard time pronouncing this one, sepulchres of JC's time are just the phonies of our own time. Well, I'll tell y'all something. Now, I would agree, people have a higher self and a lower self, right? Lower self behavior is everything that's bad. Let's say there's a Capricorn, right? Lower self behavior, all right? It's going to manifest a certain way. There's a higher self behavior, which is what? Enlightened or enlightenment, enlightened intellectual capability. Some people will say enlightened intellectual and spiritual capacity. All right, let me put this in context. What is enlightenment? At the extreme, let's say this is enlightenment and this is the other opposite end of the line. So here we have enlightenment. The opposite of extreme would be ignorance. So if you're ignorant, you're in the dark. You don't know anything, you cannot see. If you're enlightened, you're brilliant. Brilliance has to do with what? Light. If you see, if there's light, you can see. In the dark, when you're ignorant, what happens at nighttime in the dark? People rob and they steal, right? They rob, they steal, they rape, they murder. In the daytime, in the light, is it likely that people are going to be out robbing, stealing, and murdering during the day? No, because they might get caught because you can see them. And if you see them, maybe you can even avoid them. Y'all see it? All right. So higher self is enlightened. How do you become enlightened? You become enlightened through study. Through study. Reading books. Now, reading books is not all. That's just a place to start. You have to read, then you have to increase your reading comprehension. You have to learn how to write. Okay, then you have to learn how to analyze information. Okay, you've got to learn how to analyze. That's the value of an education. Reading books and quoting books, there's really very little value in that. The value is in your analysis, okay? That's the richness. This is the enlightenment, the analysis, okay? So you must read, study. If you want to become an engineer, learn mathematics, master mathematics, learn to communicate and present information, learn how to analyze data, reach conclusions, learn how to build. You want to be a nurse or a medical doctor, study the books, study, 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 study. This is how you become enlightened. This is enlightenment. It's not some pie in the sky religious stuff. All right? You want to learn architecture. Read the books, study. There's a place for videos, but you cannot, let me repeat this. You cannot become a master of anything just watching videos. In fact, there's a lot of research that I remember looking at maybe 10, 15 years ago that says that when you're watching videos or using computers to learn, it makes your mind lazy. It makes your mind lazy, okay? So you don't want that to happen to you. It has a place, but keep it in its place. Our minds are designed to read. You want to go watch a video? Okay, go make a video. Make it. Let other people watch it. Why? So that you can get the experience of doing the science. Do the science. Become a master, not just in one area, not just in medicine. Become a master in another area. Whatever you choose. Whatever you choose. This is enlightenment. All right, now can you be enlightened and then go to the bad side? Yes, of course you can, because it depends on the decisions that you make. All right, but if I'm enlightened, I can see. I'm conscious and aware of what I'm doing. If I'm in the darkness, I'm ignorant. I don't know. I'm just operating at the level of an animal or a little bit higher. Y'all see what I'm saying? Okay, so this is higher self and lower self behavior. Higher self refuses to harm anyone. This is the higher self behavior, right? Why? Because you're enlightened. You see that we're all connected. So if I harm you, I'm going to harm me. If I love me, I'm not going to harm you, right? Right? Y'all get it? All right. Let's continue. After this, we're going to stop in a minute, y'all. Let me check for messages for chats. All right. So y'all want to put anything in, go ahead. Give me a break, y'all. If y'all can put something in the chat, would y'all do that? Let me get a break and I can just read through the chat. Y'all can be a part of this if you like. How many minutes have we been going? I'll keep it up for a few minutes to see if y'all put anything in the chat. And then I'll get started. No, you know what? Better yet, I got things I got to do today. I'm going to continue. We're going to get through this. I'll check the chat periodically. All right. This seems like a strange saying to Judeo-Christian ears. After all, Jews call their ministers rabbi, and Catholics call their priest father. But it is perfectly comprehensible to adherents of less authoritarian religious systems. Let me repeat. But it is perfectly comprehensible to adherents. I didn't get that, comprehensible. Okay. Okay, so I believe he's saying that religions who are less authoritarian understand it. The Zen Buddhist master, De Kwang, for instance, said, if you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him. If you meet the patriarch, kill the patriarch. What he means by this is that nothing would include books, gurus, traditions, etc., should be allowed to usurp the individual's responsibility for his or her own enlightenment. The Buddha, who described himself as merely a finger pointing at the moon, says, it is proper to doubt, to be uncertain. Do not go upon what has been acquired by repeated hearing, nor upon tradition, nor upon rumor, nor upon what is in scripture, nor upon the consideration. The monk is our teacher. So in other words, Buddha here is saying, don't listen to people and do what they tell you, right? Don't do stuff just because you see other people doing it. This is what both have said in each paragraph. Let's continue. Rather, when you yourselves know, quote, these things are bad when undertaken and observed. These things lead to harm and ill. Abandon them. So what he's saying, when you know something, in other words, get out of the realm of belief and start acting on what you know. All right, start acting what you know, acting on what you know. Likewise, when you yourselves know these things are good, when undertaken and observed, these things lead to benefit and happiness. Enter on and abide in them. Novak, page 62. Now, I agree with that, but I disagree in this. If you only go by what you experience, then all of the learning and wisdom of your ancestors was for nothing. In fact, you will be a lawbreaker, right? You will be a lawbreaker. Go back and watch the videos I did earlier on this topic. When you go back and you look at the etymological meaning of law, it's lectures. Lectures are those things that your parents, your family, and your community said, do this and don't do that, do it this way, do it that way, don't deal with these people, leave them alone. Why? Years and generations of learning. They collected knowledge and preserved it for you. If you ignore that, you're breaking the law. Y'all got it? This is where the whole concept or one of the nuances of law comes from. Okay? It is the lectures of your ancestors. So the lectures of our ancestors, importantly, is what? The commandments, the law, right? Aren't we supposed to tell our children all of the stories? Remember that, y'all? Okay, why are we to do it? So that our children, our generations would learn to trust the Most High. Okay, not have faith in, trust. Islam to all the Moors. I'm Dr. Yasapa from Zion Law School. I'll see y'all on the next one. All the links to my books and other publications are in the description area of this video. If y'all want to support my work, you'll see my Cash App and PayPal in the description area. And if y'all want to come to class, the link is there. Be sure to subscribe to the 101 Ancient Ibaryath course, y'all. It's a streaming course where you can learn Ibaryath. It's intense. You don't need any Hebrew language experience or anything like that. Check it out. Be sure to support the production of Moses' Book of the Law. Okay, support it financially. Also, if you can donate your time and skill sets in the production of our own Book of the Law, I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. I'm Dr. Yasapa from Zion Law School. Shalawama and Islam to all of the Moors. I see y'all on the next one.